Hello everybody and welcome to a list video here at Playing Board Games. I will say that I'm doing this video live on Twitch, so I might be talking to some random people, or you might see me looking to my right there. It's not because there's a little small man with a knife. It's because there's about, I don't know, like 35 to 40 people with small knives, so that's what I'm looking at. This is something that I did last year with Scarlet Keys. Every year when a new set comes out, I do my hype ranking where I grade the cards and see how good I think they are. And then, after a year, I get a look at those rankings and see how right or wrong I am while also revisiting them in a future video. This is the first lead up to us revisiting this list, where I'm going to talk about 5 Hemlock Vale cards that I was wrong about in my initial assessments of those cards. So let's dive in and get this going. Number 1, we have Wolf Mask. This is not the entire cycle of the mask cycle. Wolf Mask was the one that I was the highest on. So for some perspective, I gave Sparrow Mask a 4. I gave Cat Mask a 4. I gave Fosk Mask a 3 and Mouse Mask a 3. And then as you can see here, I gave Wolf Mask a 4.5. I was wrong about all of these to various levels, but Wolf Mask was the one that I view myself as being the most wrong about. There was a lot of hype surrounding these cards when they were first spoiled. Like, a lot of hype. There were people saying that they were going to be tabooed day one, that they were going to break the game wide open. And I remember just even like sitting there and thinking, like, I was like, I feel like that's a little bit, it seems a little bit reactionary. And I bit into the hype a bit when it came to, as you can see, Wolf, Sparrow, and for some reason Cat. I need to go back and check that out. But yeah, the mask hysteria was a very interesting time in the ARKHAM community. And then we got these cards, and they turned out to be good, but they feel like level 0 cards. They feel like level 0 cards. Even when you are refilling them over and over again, most builds end up kind of just not necessarily needing the value. I think, for me now, one of the best masks that I've actually seen and played with was the Fox mask. And the reason for that is because the rogue class actually consistently uses those two stats quite a bit, right? Like, they use both book and foot. With the Guardians, like, you can use fist a lot, right? But how much are you using the foot? Is it to evade enemies? Is it to pass Mythos tests? Like, those are all fine uses for it. But to me, I think these cards truly ascend to the next level when you are taking advantage of the full aspect of the card. Wolf Mask is still the easiest mask to refill. I'm not going to be denying that at all. And even with my I was wrong about this card, I'm not even going to say for a second that Wolf Mask is a bad card. I still think that Wolf Mask is actually a very good card, and the rating is going to show that. But my new rating for this card is changing from a 4.5 down to a 3.5. Spoiler alert, all of these cards are going to have at least a 1 point difference between either going up or down from its original rating. And I think that just, like, with more time playing with the Wolf Mask, this is less of a bombastic sort of thing that I thought was going to happen. For me, a 4.5 is like a card that is kind of just like ubiquitous. Like, you have to find a reason to not include it in your deck, right? And I thought that was going to be the case for Wolf Mask, but then the problem with ARKHAM is that cards are good. Like, the player card pool, if you're not playing with any sort of restrictions, you can kind of do whatever you freaking want, and you can kind of just get it done. And I think that generally, it's kind of outclassed, right? Like, at a certain point, you're going to be like, I don't need this Wolf Mask anymore. Or you're going to go to a one of. And to me, that is kind of like fitting into the world of this, like, 3.5 rating, right? And yeah, to echo what someone in chat is saying, is the reason to not include Wolf Mask is not because the card's bad, but it could simply just be, I'm Mark Harrigan and I have a Runic Axe, right? Like, that's an excellent point. It's just one of those things where you just might be good enough that you don't actually need the wolf mask. And the idea is that these masks, this was actually something that was talked about too when the card first came out, is that it helps supplement the investigators that don't have the good stat line. And I think that is where these masks shine best. But with that note, if you need to take multiple attacks and you're not refilling at the rate of the attacks that you're putting out, it kind of falters a little bit, which makes the card a little bit more fair. And what a lot of people, kind of misjudged in the early days when these cards were being spoiled. Because I think the first assessments for these cards were that you always were going to have it full. And that just proves to be not true. So yeah, first card I was wrong about was Wolf Mask. Second card I was wrong about was Drain Essence. I gave this card a 4 originally. Let's talk about Drain Essence. So, Parlay, choose an enemy location and test Brain X, where X is the chosen enemy's fight value. If you succeed, move 1 damage from your investigator to the chosen enemy, up to 2 damage instead if the chosen enemy is non-elite. So the reason why I was high on this card is because it kills an enemy, right? Like, it kills an enemy and heals you. But I missed some things about this card. I still think this card is good. I still think this card is very playable. But not 4. Not 4 playable. I'll be real with you. So we're going down on this one. Spoiler, this card isn't becoming better. So some knocks against this card. 1, Mystics at level 0, when you're looking to play this card most often, are a little bit hampered by the fact that your brain isn't great, right? Like, your brain is good, but it's a little bit different. It's like the Seeker problem, right? Where, like, a Seeker wants to get their book to 5, and then they can start doing things. Mystics want to get their brain to 6, and then they can start doing things. So if you haven't hit your Holy Rosary or something else, you need to commit other cards to make this card just generally more consistent. So that's already a knock against it, right? Number 2, it costs 2 resources. And number 3, you gotta have damage on you. Otherwise, it doesn't actually do anything. That was kind of my shifting point. When I first gave this card a 4, I always just assumed that I was going to have damage on me. And in some cases, I would take my starting trauma as damage for my In the Thick of It, so I can enable Drain Essence on turn 0. The issue with that then came in where suddenly I was like, damn, I haven't drawn my Drain Essences. And I've suddenly taken a bit more damage, and now I'm a little bit worried. And it was one of those things where I was like, I'm trying to enable something that wasn't worth it to the value that I thought I was going to get out of it, right? Where is this card really good? Obviously, Parallel Agnes, right? Obviously very good there because you have your own way to enable your damage. The other thing is I actually, to go to chat as well for the people watching me live on Twitch right now, it's a great one of too. I do think that it's like a fantastic one of, but I think that you need to, where my original rating was wrong was that I was treating this as a kill spell when this really is actually like a healing spell. So like, I was using this in my deck as something to damage enemies with. And I think my initial perspective on that was wrong. I still think the card is good. My new rating for it is a 3. I still think it's a good card. That's like where I'm like, my 3 is like 2.5 is like fine, and 3 is like we're starting to get into the good card territories. But I do think Drain Essence is a very nice card that can get things done. Yeah, but I when I was going through and I saw this as a 4, I was like, huh? I was like, wow. Past Justin was super duper high on that card. Notably, chat gave it a 4 as well. I'm curious to see because whether they give it in 2025. It's always a fun sort of thing for me to do. We both gave it a 4. Yeah, so I think I would give it a 3 today. I think it's a very well designed card. Again, like, this video isn't me trying to say that like cards are bad or like cards are like or like that. Like, it's just that I was wrong with my original rating. I think I overrated this card when it first came out. My third card here is Seal of the Elders. This is a spell-packed Blessed Curse, costs 5 experience. It's fast, play after skill to see a location ends in which at least 2 curse or 2 blessed tokens were revealed. If 2 curse tokens were revealed, search your bonded cards for 1 copy Servant of Brass and put it into play. If 2 blessed tokens were revealed, search your bonded cards for Keeper of the Key and put it into play. If both were revealed, you do both instead. Then you remove this from the game. The other guys, they soak for damage or horror, and you can exhaust them to, or like whenever damage, yeah, you can just basically like use them to get clues or deal damage. As you can see here, I originally gave this card a 2. And I think the reasons for that, if you know me as a gamer, are pretty obvious for why I underrated this card. I'm going to tell you, this card's not going down. You can actually probably get a good assessment of where a card is going when you can look at the original rating. So when this card changed for me was seeing Travis play it in our blind run of Feast of Hemlock Vale. In that run, Travis was able to get the 2 guys pretty much like every time. I thought it was going to be impossible to get 2, but it actually is. It actually is like pretty easy to get 2 in the right build. Obviously, you have to be in Paradoxical to make it work. And obviously, you're not going to always hit it, so don't wait to hit it, right? Sometimes you're just going to get 2 Bless or 2 Cursed, and you just want to put one of them in. Use them, and then like play your next one in the future. And even then, the use case for that is still probably pretty fine. Pretty fine for 5 experience, right? But seeing that Travis was able to, like, I think he had a hit rate pretty high of getting both of them. And I was like, okay, this card's actually, like, pretty real. I was locked in the fact that you were, like, never gonna get all of it, right? Like, we compare it to that other card that came out, the Guardian level 5 one, how, like, that one is just, like, it's so hard to get the value out of, and Seal of the Elders was actually pretty easy. And then, like, what matters is that the only doing half of it is still also a very playable effect, right? Like, that's kind of like the big thing of what makes this card like actually kind of just pop and get it done. My new rating for this one is a 3. It's not going up crazy. I don't think the card is like amazing, but I do think that the card is very playable and good, and actually also like gets the job done, which was very surprising for me, because that's kind of like what was my sticking point. I just was like, this ain't happening, and then Travis did it multiple times, and I was like, oh shit, this is happening. This is getting the job done. Number 4 on my list is the Key of Solomon. Secrets of the Unknown is the tag. 2 cost, 4 experience, Mystic class, item tome, Blessed Cursed. As a lightning bolt, if there are more blessed than cursed tokens in the chaos bag, remove 1 blessed token from the chaos bag and exhaust the Key of Solomon. Heal up to 2 damage and or horror from an investigator ally at your location. As a lightning bolt, if there are more cursed than blessed tokens in the chaos bag, remove 1 cursed token from the chaos bag, exhaust it, gain 2 resources. So, I am going to add the original caveat that I did when I first rated this card. When I first gave my 3.5 rating, which I think was a good rating. I don't think this one is like that crazy, because my thought process for this as a 3.5 was that this card was very good and amazing even, but it could only be played really in decks where you're taking advantage of its ability, because this is like an archetype card. This is not just like a generic good card, which is usually where I put my 4.5s and my 5s to, like a card that is like either so insanely good or like archetype defining in a way that is like you're gonna want to play this like immediately. I thought this card was going to be good. I thought it was going to have a good impact. I thought it was very powerful, but I was like, it's going to be like only in those curse and blessed decks. And all of that still holds true, but I underestimated just how good this card was in those decks. I'm giving this one a 4.5. I don't think I'm going to give it a 5. I don't think so, because I feel like a 5, it has to be just like, I would play it in any deck, right? And I think that we're not really there yet. Maybe like one more curse cycle we can be. That would be insane. That would be nuts. If this just became something you could just put in any deck, that would be a problem, wouldn't it? That would be a little bit of a problem. But this card is nuts. If you're doing the blessed part of this card, you're never gonna die. You're never gonna die. And that's like freaking crazy. And then it was one of those things that like even just like the resources, like just using the curse for the resources is like nutty. I think this card is close to being good enough to just play. I should maybe try that. Do you think that'd be a crazy idea? I don't think so, right? It'd probably be worth it to try building a deck to just stress test this card if you're not building around the Bless and Curse. Is it good enough? Hard to see, but like I think we kind of might need to try stress testing this to see if it actually is just like maybe it is a 5. This card's like power. I underestimated just how good this card would actually be when you put the whole thing together. Yeah. Like the healing damage is insane. The resources is insane. Like all this card is just like freaking insane. And like, again, I don't think the 3.5 was wrong in my original assessment, where the idea was that, like, I think the logic was all sound, but I think I was wrong about just how good this card is in blessed, cursed, or paradoxical decks. Like, it's very freaking nutty. Absolutely insane. And I love playing with it. It's a very powerful card, and it's very fun to take advantage of. Yeah. Yeah, and then it's also, yeah, it's I think Valentine, you're 100% right. Like, it's an enabler, and it also, there's so many things around it that this card helps facilitate, right? Because like there's the return to hand spells, there's the ways that you can now like pull blessed tokens that you want to, and this helps you get there. Very, very good card. Yeah, and also like it's not limit 1 per deck, and it makes up for it by having bonkers ass symbols. You know what? I even like the idea of doing like a Diana Stanley deck where you use this with Well Prepared. Shout out to my boy Astute. Don't know why I'm pointing to heaven like he's dead. He's not dead. He's in chat right now. Nutters. Nutters. All right. Last card here. This one was surprising to me. This one was surprising to me that I gave this card such a low rating, especially because like it's my Bay. This was my Bay of Hemlock Vale chemistry set. I gave this one a 2.5. This one blew my mind when I was going through it, when I was checking it out like 10 months after the video where I rated it. And I was like, I gave this MF a 2.5, huh? So chemistry set, 2-cost asset, secret class, takes up the accessory slot, item, tool, science. As an action, exhaust chemistry set, investigate. If you fail by exactly 2, discard chemistry set. If you succeed by exactly 0, gain 2 resources. If you succeed by exactly 2, draw 1 card. If you succeed by exactly 4, discover one additional clue at your location. So, I think that, what did chat give it? I think chat gave it a 3. Yeah, chat gave it a 3. So, I'm going higher than a 3. I'm going higher than a 3. But I think with this card, my original assessment of it was that it wasn't going to trigger. It was unreliable, right? It was just like an unreliable card. And then, after playing with it, because I kind of just played with it just for fun, and that's actually, I'm gonna jump on this. I need to remember this point in chat here. But playing with this card, I realized that I could just use it and get value. I didn't need to do anything crazy. If you build around it, which you could and should, it's very, very, very good. Very, very efficient, right? However, call me a madman, but I just also put this card in my deck and just like use it. Because the reality is, a lot of my decks end up being Book v Shroud. So I'm just like doing basic investigate actions against locations. One why not just replace one of those basic investigates with a chemistry set? And like, maybe I gain 2 resources. Maybe I draw a card. Maybe I get a clue. Additionally, you actually can like take advantage of the bag quite a bit. You can be like, okay, I'm going to command my perception to this one, and now I'm up 4. So if I hit a 0, I'm going to get 2 clues. If I get the -2, which is the most common token in the bag, I'm going to draw a card. If I get the -4, which I'm now good for, I get 2 resources, right? It's like one of those things where it's easy to build around. Sorry, it's easy to not even build around, sorry. But then you add Steady-Handed into the mix. And I think Steady-Handed is an entirely playable card that you don't need to also build around. And like, yeah, you could say that you're building around chemistry set there, and I would agree. I feel like to really build around it, you got to put some fine-tuning on it so it readies. But like, even just a Steady-Handed, which I also think is an entirely playable card, all on its own, you can get value from it very easily. Like, it's like one of those things where I have had a problem where I've put this card in decks just because I was like, yeah, all the other accessory slot stuff is poopy. And actually now, I'm hard pressed to find a reason to put other stuff in my accessory slot in some of the decks I'm playing. I like chemistry set that freaking much. I just really like this card. And it's gonna get worse in Drowned City, because we have that new Artistic Inspiration card. So I'm gonna be playing a Min and a Daryl chemistry set deck yesterday. Like, I can hardly wait. This card is just like, it's just good. I remember when I brought my Even Science Roland deck as well, and it popped off. Like, it's doing so much for so little. My new rating is a 3.5. I don't think it's a 4 yet. I think it's a 4 when you like truly build around it. But I'm going to be giving this one, I'm going to be putting up a full point. I don't think I'm going to put it to a 4. Like, maybe I will in like when I do the actual video. But right now, I feel like chemistry set has gone up a full point to what I would consider to be a great card. Like, maybe not like, it's like very good to great. The card is nuts, and I'm playing with it like all the frickin' time. And yes, so the thing you also have to accept with this card is that sometimes you will discard it. Sometimes you will. And that's the risk you take, baby. That's the risk you take putting it out there. If you ever can get it out for free with things like Unearth the Ancients, or the multitude of ways that Seekers have to cheat in an asset that costs 2, it's even better, because then you don't save, like, you don't lose on the action to play it. Because the reality is that this card actually pays itself back so quickly, right? Like, that's the other thing that I underestimated about this card. If you trigger any of those bottom 3 if you, like, as long as you don't get the if you fail by, you've made the value on the card back. Instantly. Like, instantly. It's not one of those things where you need to, like, oh, I need to do this. I need to, like, do it 3 times, right? Like, the math isn't that hard. It's just if you trigger any of those, you've paid the card back. The reason for this is that, yes, you have to put the action and the 2 resources in to play it, right? But then if you draw a card, you replace the card, so it's paid back. You get the resources, you paid back the resources, it's paid back. You get the clue, you discover an additional clue, it's paid back. Additionally, you're also succeeding, so you're going to be investigating successfully, getting a clue, which means that you've then also paid back the action that you used to put it into play. So, like, it instantly gets itself back, which is like crazy. And I think that's like what I underestimated, just the amount of value this card brings. And yeah, great card. My personal favorite card from Hemlock Vale, easily. I think I've talked about it in so many list videos that I've probably made someone sick of it. Probably. Those were 5 Feast of Hemlock Vale cards that I was wrong about. I hope you enjoyed this, and I hope you look forward to the 2 videos where I'm going to be re-ranking all the cards. Those are going to be long, arduous affairs, so, you know, like, get ready for that. Huge thank you to all of our patrons for supporting the channel. You guys all rock. Also, huge thank you to everyone who's watching at home on YouTube or at home on Twitch over there in chat. I love all of you guys. Thank you so much for watching. Have a good one, and as always, a GG's.